It is not Wednesday. It is Tuesday, but with the Thanksgiving holiday, I feel like getting the content out to you that much faster. So, you know what? It's still 10 p.m. It's Tuesday. And guess what, folks? We're live. Let's get the show started right now. And welcome everybody to New York Sports WickerMedia. I'm Watch2K99. Well, I guess you probably already knew that, but I am thrilled to see you guys here on the eve of Thanksgiving. I think that would make it Thanksgiving Adam, since Adam came before Eve. We're going to call this Thanksgiving Adam today. So remember, December 23rd will be Christmas Adam. Mark it down on your calendars. So we're going to do things a little bit differently tonight, being that it is Tuesday. And to be honest with you, I just don't know if I have it in me to go through all the same dog and pony show that we usually do every week. Now, we're still going to have trivia. We'll still bring up some numbers if the situation calls for it. But I decided tonight, well, I don't necessarily want to do this by myself. I wanted to bring in some of my friends, some of your friends, and I just want to see what they have to say. So we'll see who stops by. But I already know that we got a person or two waiting in the queue, and we're going to bring them in very, very shortly. But before we do that, let's say a quick hello to a couple of people. We got Hank G, who came in first, who's on the road. Hank G, safe travels, especially if it's Thanksgiving related. You know, be safe, keep between the lines. I appreciate you coming by. Jets mess. Man, you got passed over this time. Hank beat you to it, but I always appreciate you stopping by. Jets Mess, traditionally the first one to stop by. He is here. And then we've got Robert Bartolo making a don't call it a comeback from New Brunswick, New Jersey. I know he's excited to watch his Cowboys probably whip up on the Washington Commandskins, who I'm very ticked off with. They've cost me my $500 because now I'm out of the survivor pool. I knew I should have gone with Jacksonville this week. I knew it. Life goes on. Yeah, but my survivor pool and the Jets may have died the exact same day. The great Pure Adrenaline Sports is here. Yes, it is a Tuesday night edition of Wednesday Night Live. The holiday situation, we got Thanksgiving going on. So, yeah, we had to move a few things around. I got family coming into town. So, you know, out of respect, I figured let's just do the show a little bit early. Plus, you got the Jets game on Friday, a little bit sooner. So, yeah, so I sent out a little bit of notice. We're going to do the show a little bit earlier, just a 1 week situation. But speaking of things that I want to talk about, something that I am thankful for. It's very easy to get negative, and I'm sure we will, especially when we're talking about this team. New hat, by the way, and I actually want to thank the Jets for sending my group, the Virginia Jets fans, about 30 or 35 new hats. So we're in charcoal gray with the old school logo, and I got to say, I love this hat. This is pretty sweet. But something I'm very thankful for are my friends, my fellow content creators. And as a matter of fact, I think we're going to bring one of them in right now if he's ready. And when is he not ready? I pretty much know that he's always ready. And this man, boy, he is never afraid to talk about what's on his mind. He'll give you his opinion, raw, unfiltered, and he always brings the goods, whether you agree with him or not. I appreciate his perspective. Ladies and gentlemen, I give to you the great, all the way from Florida, Tigo. Hey, I answered you without any problem. How you doing, Nate Policeman? What's going on tonight?
I'm pretty good. Just hanging out, bored. Finally got the kiddos to sleep, so I thought, let's kill some time. Let's talk some football. Let's just get merry and thankful in a Thanksgiving season.
Yeah, this is a time when you really have to learn to count your blessings, because I'm not feeling very blessed right now as a Jets fan. Then again, I haven't for the last couple of decades. But
Yeah, I was gonna say, I think we're in the same kind of boat that we've been in the last couple of years. So nothing new, right?
nothing new under Gang Green. No, and it's just that much more annoying when you realize that, or when you have a different feel going into a season, and you feel like, okay, the corner's been turned, and you're pretty much right back where you were in the beginning. So we're going to see what happens as we're a little bit past the midway point of the season. But you know what? You and I, people know when Tigo and I are talking, it's always going to create a little bit of fireworks. But then, you got, it's like you got your little bit of explosives, but then you sort of need that ingredient that just takes it to one more level. Just one more level over the top. Well, we don't have that, but what we do have instead is one of the true greats. He'd appreciate it. Is one of the true greats of Jets content. One of the most optimistic Jets fans that I know, and I appreciate it, because if you're still optimistic at this time, man, I got nothing but respect and pity at the same time. I want to bring in, also from the great state of New Jersey, just like I used to be, and just like our friend Robert Bartolo is, I want to bring on the one whose light glows brighter than just about any other as a Jets fan, the great Nick Shine.
I mean,
How you doing, sir?
We're just a couple wins away from 11-6. Let's ride, baby.
Are you counting preseason games?
Madden.
Oh, Madden on beginner level. I understand.
I used to live in New Jersey and New York. Okay, I moved to Florida after I did my stint up there.
Yeah, I moved out midway through high school. I'd had enough. Yeah. About the only things I missed were my family and the pizza. That was about it. So,
We got out much earlier than that. I got out in like the fourth grade.
Fourth grade. And it was, I'll tell you what was actually annoying about it is that in New Jersey, the age to drive was 16. I go to Illinois and it's 17. So my classmates, my peers are all driving, and I had to wait till my senior year to start driving.
We were 17 here. 16 was permit.
Yeah. I think it was 16 back in the day. Yeah, when I was going to school. But well, then again, it was interesting. I went from public school to Catholic school, so I cut like an hour and a half off my day. I can't say that I minded that, but
back then that was a big upgrade, because in the late 80s, early 90s, girls were wearing Cavaricis and the overalls. So you went to Catholic school, and those outfits got a little better.
It was an all boys school.
I did the opposite.
Oh God.
I may not be Catholic, but I learned to believe in purgatory during those 2 years. I can assure you.
That worked out better than any joke I could have ever made.
For real, dude. That joke wrote itself, and we didn't know.
It veered off the road, and it was like, ooh, it hit a gold mine.
The punchline that we didn't know
existed. I think we need a little bit of Friday to bring it all, to bring our spirits up after all that's gone on. Just one or two quick. I want to shout out one or two quick people. I also see the great Billy SBC, jaded, empty, terminated season.
Oh, I got one for you, because we all love the draft. I've said for about 15 years, just enter the selection.
And what was that?
For Jets, just enter the selection. Let's get to draft day, baby. Nice.
The fact that you have that queued up is incredible.
Yeah, that's about the most hopeful sound that we have as Jets fans. It's pretty amazing. It's just it's like, oh, what was that? Oh, it's our pick. Yeah, Robert Bartolo, you are blessed and thankful for being my son.
Oh, it's your dad. Hey, Mr. Bartolo.
Yeah, he's here. I made sure to give him the heads up so that he could, raise the antenna on the cell phone and flip it open and, do all that kind of stuff. Hit the dial up or whatever he does to get the connection.
He knows what he's doing. He showed up on George Street with his girlfriend and the dog. That was the best.
Yes, he did. Good old Rummy. Yeah, I got to tell you, Rummy's come through a little bit of a health battle over the last couple of months. That is one resilient dog. They almost lost him, but he fought through.
Awesome.
So I know he and Ellen are very glad to still have him there. But oh, goodness gracious! Well, I do want to talk about a couple of things tonight, and we'll see where this all goes tonight. But I just felt the need to just shoot the breeze with you guys rather than talk to a camera for my usual hour and a half, wherever it goes. We'll still do some trivia a little bit later on. But I feel like one of the things that I did not see coming this week, I could have seen losses coming, but I did not expect to see a hint of a fracture between the coaching staff and the front office. And for the first time, I feel like we're starting to see that. And I got to tell you, that this is scaring the hell out of me, because I felt Douglas and Saleh really were like interlocked. They had the same direction. And that was one of the biggest complaints we had as Jets fans. Head coach, general manager, not on the same page, going ever since Tannenbaum and Rex were no longer a pair. Guys, I ask you both: are you? I mean, Steve, I'm going to start with you since you were here first. Are you worried with what Saleh said in the press conference, kind of hinting at the idea that he may not have been thrilled at the way that they scouted Zach Wilson, how they went about choosing a quarterback? Does this concern you?
Not really. I think at this point in time, I know you're not going to like this, but I think that this is Joe Douglas's last year as general manager of the New York Jets. And it's the reality is that it's save your job season, and it's either going to be Joe Douglas or Robert Saleh that's going to stick around at the end of this season. And I don't think Robert Saleh is the one that's going to get fired, because Robert Saleh came in as a defensive-minded head coach and manufactured a top 5 defense. You know, he went from 32 to 5, and depending on where you go, and especially before the Bills game, some places had us ranked as the number 1 defense in the NFL. And so he did his job and then handed over the reins of manufacturing and building his offense to Joe Douglas. And I have been a staunch supporter and defender of Joe Douglas, and I don't think that firing him is the right move. But I do think it is the only move that Woody can make, and it is the only logical move that Woody can make, is to fire Joe Douglas. And I think that that's what we're seeing is, yeah, the relationship is probably fractured, especially at that comment, but it doesn't really matter at this point, because if each one of those guys is trying to get into Woody's ear, and I think the guy that wins out is Saleh, and rightfully so.
All right, Nick, how would you respond to Sego's comments?
There's a lot to process.
It is.
Let me start with Douglas. I think it's fair to say that if we're healthy, we built a Super Bowl team. And I don't think you get fired off of all these injuries. That's first. I don't think Joe Douglas gets fired unless, as of today, I don't think Joe Douglas is getting fired. If some really bad shit happens, there's a huge locker room divide, everyone's going, right? Everyone will be gone. They're not going to keep one or the other, because if you're losing the locker room and then the coaches are pointing at the GM, it was their first time together, right? Let's rewind to the beginning. It was Saleh and Douglas's first time together. They didn't work anywhere previously together. It was the COVID year, trying to scout a quarterback. Some things may have been done differently or not that have been done in the past by either of them, because it was the COVID year that when he was coming out. You know, it was the draft of the 2020 college football season was different. It was empty. You didn't play your normal schedule. He didn't get to play the talent that they normally play, right? In the Pac-12, or what's BYU? BYU Pac-12, or what are they?
They're independent.
Mountain Independent.
They're probably changing in 2 years anyway, the way college football goes.
Yeah, right.
They're independent, and I think they're going to the Big 10.
They could go to the Big East, and I would believe you.
Yeah,
if you told me that.
But they didn't. They had a patchwork of schedule, so they played a lot of teams that they normally don't play, from my recollection, because that was the thing that the naysayers on Zach said. He didn't play anybody on any defense that season who was going to be draft worthy. Not a cornerback, not a safety, not a linebacker, not a DN. None of those guys, I don't believe, got drafted. There may have been some guys who went undrafted, but not that year. Nobody got selected that year. So he had an easy schedule. He throws the ball well. But when you're processing information and you're processing weak, untalented defenses, and BYU is by no means an Ohio State program, but you're beating up on little shit schools. So what it was and what it is varied. And how do you deter that? How do you determine that as a coaching staff and as a general manager? And I think that everybody coming in together maybe had differences of opinion, and Joe being there already probably won out. And Salah's now giving some feedback. And I think he let that slip for someone who usually plays a little close to the vest with the media and doesn't let things slip out. I think that was a little bit of frustration because now I wasn't supposed to have this guy again. We're supposed to finally put out a winning record. We finally brought in the quarterback, and now I got to deal with this guy again. I think some frustration slipped out from Salah, who it was a little out of character for him. He cleaned it up today, saying everything was good. And I don't think, as of today, Buffalo game just passed, Miami coming up. It's not even Thanksgiving. I don't think anyone is getting fired as of today. But who knows? Michael Clemens going off. I would make Clemens a healthy scratch this week and teach him a lesson. Hey, it's not what we're doing here, man. You've been a healthy scratch already this season. Say it's disciplinary. He's out this week. Or suspend him for the week. Put it on, send a message to the locker room. The wheels are not coming off. You're not going to freelance and be a shit show. It's not how we're going to do it here. You got a problem with it? Cut him. I don't care if we cut Michael Clemens. What's the big goddamn deal? What's he done anyway? He's jumped off sides on a punt, and he went after a guy in a tunnel. That's Michael Clemens' highlights this year.
How far our opinions have changed with Michael Clemens at this point? I mean, every week we have a defensive lineman, a known defensive lineman who's sitting. But I'll tell you what, I'm seeing more and more from Will McDonald every week. And I'll tell you, that run stop that he made when he blew by the left tackle and knocked the running back down, knocked Ty Johnson down for a 6-yard loss, I couldn't believe that was McDonald, because all we heard was pure pass rusher, Bryce Huff's eventual replacement. And that play may have gotten me as excited as any play did that game. Of course, right after that, it's 2nd and 12, and I mentioned this on the key plays. Right after that was an 11-yard pass to Stephon Diggs. And then right after that, Ty Johnson takes it to the house, 28 yards. I may have ranted a little bit on that touchdown. I may have given Ty Johnson a new middle name, which I had to censor out, but hey, it is what it is.
That was a lazy take about Will McDonald, though, from people pre the draft about his inability to play the run game. I said it coming out that Will McDonald might have easily been one of the sneakiest best picks of this year's draft, especially when you look at this past draft, not just for the Jets, but as a whole, because of the fact that, like, we have no need for him to play right now. And while he does need to develop a pass rush and all of those things, like, the kid is not a Bryce Huff replacement. Like, that's a bad assessment of what he is. He's a Carl Lawson replacement. That's what he was. He was drafted to replace Carl Lawson, and JJ is supposed to replace JFM. JJ's the run stopper who can pass rush like JFM is. And Will McDonald is the pass rusher who's good in the run, like Lawson was supposed to be. And like there were people who said that the wrong Will went number 3 overall. I wasn't one of those people, but there were people that said Will McDonald over Will Anderson. Thought those people were a little bit, I get it, but I didn't agree. But yeah.
It's crazy. I think when we did our mock draft before the draft, earlier this year, we did, I don't know how many picks, but we must have done 40, 50 picks, something like that, whatever the number may have been. And I don't even think we
42.
took McDonald. What?
42, because I think we
42. I don't think we took McDonald in our top 42 to any team. It's amazing.
He went to KC.
Yeah, I don't recall if he did. I can tell you this though. So with Virginia Jets fans, every draft we have like a little special raffle on draft night. We all get together, we watch the draft, and I write down pretty much 40, 50 prospects, like the top picks, possible players the Jets could draft. I write them down on a slip of paper. I hand them out, and whichever player the Jets pick first, they get a special prize. I didn't even put McDonald's name in out of 50 prospects. That's how surprised I was when they picked him. But, realizing that it is about the pipeline, about bringing in new players, this is what a lot of great teams do. They don't always sign these players. They have their core of players that they sign, but then they let some of them go, the ones that they can move on from, and then you bring in another player, and you have your core there saying, here's how we do business, here's how you do your job, fall in line or get the hell out of here. That is in my mind, that is what the best teams do. the teams that has sustained success. And that's what I believe I was hoping the Jets were building. Right now, I don't know. Now, on that defensive line, I feel very confident about where it's going. But yeah, we'll see what happens. It's going to look a little bit different after this year. Certainly some people will be gone. Let's take a quick look at a few other folks in the chat who have stopped by. We got the great Rusty Spooner, the creator of Rusty's Diamonds. Heck, it sucks. Shake my head. JD Sala aren't the problem. Shouldn't bend the knee. Tell Rodgers that Ken Dorsey will be here and Hackett will be gone. Dorsey is real OC. He's been third best or better. I would say this, I think by Rusty, love you, but I think most coordinators, they're only as good as the players they have to work with. Nathaniel Hackett without Aaron Rodgers is nothing more than a coffee boy in the NFL. Just like Adam Gase was Peyton Manning's coffee boy.
But Adam, wait. Hackett's never called plays for Rodgers. LaFleur was calling the plays. So to say that Hackett and Rodgers have had success together, Hackett's never called a play for Rodgers. Hackett was just going to run the system. He's most familiar with the system that Rodgers didn't want to learn a new system at his age. So that's why they brought in a guy who knows that system and they could tweak it a little bit, right? But Hackett
called plays in Jacksonville. Hackett called plays in Jacksonville, that team that went all the way
with Rodgers. Let
me finish. I'm just talking about Hackett as a whole. Hackett called plays in Jacksonville, manufactured one of the best run offenses in the NFL, and had Bortles looking like an MVP quarterback. Bortles, right? Looking like an MVP quarterback with that dominant defense. Then he goes to Green Bay or whatever, and in Green Bay, he was in charge of two aspects of that offense. It was the red zone and the run game. He was a de facto run game coordinator and red zone specialist. That's what he did. So when it came to the red zone, what would happen is he would tell LaFleur, this is what I think would work before they got there. And LaFleur would pick the plays, but the play designs and all of the things that would happen from Green Bay was that LaFleur's job, Matt was supposed to get to the 25-yard line. Hackett was supposed to get them in the end zone. That's how it worked. And if you look at Green Bay, both of those things hold up. When Hackett left, their red zone efficiency went into the floor, and their run game efficiency went into the floor. And it wasn't because they lost their running backs or anything like that. No, they still had the same running backs, they had the same quarterback, all of that stuff, and their efficiency went down the drain. So to sit here and
they lost a lot. I think you're undermining that a lot.
Dude, they lost Devontae Adams. That's it.
They lost Devontae Adams.
That's it.
The one guy who would make two safeties stay back, which helps the run game. Now you're not afraid. Dubes and Watson didn't. Doubs, however you say it, was injured for the early part of the rookie year. Watson didn't catch on until like late October. I think the Cowboy game, he had 3 touchdowns. And Bakhtiari went out for basically the entire year last year.
Bakhtiari hasn't played in like 10 years.
He played the years they were 13-3. He was playing though. He missed some games, but last year he missed like the majority of it.
Yeah, but it still comes down to like fundamentally look at the play calling. The play calling changed.
Okay.
And the ideology changed.
I know we got another guest, and I'm going to be quick. One other aspect of Hackett's job, laminating the play sheets for LaFleur. You forgot that.
Yes, but it's one of those things.
He laminated and he handed him the colored markers. Here you go, sir. Good luck today.
How much cream would you like in your coffee, sir?
It's one of those things where like fundamentally it comes back down to Zach. That's the problem. Right? Hackett can't operate an NFL offense because Zach can't handle an NFL offense. And so, and I'm not trying to say that Hackett is this world-beating, oh my gosh, I wouldn't trust Ken Dorsey to trust my high school, to run my high school team, let alone the New York Jets. I think Ken Dorsey, for me, was one of the bottom 3 offensive coordinators in the NFL. And the fact he got fired 11 months too late. Like Buffalo tanked their season.
So he's going to be the next guy here based off the Hackett's resume.
No, he'll be head coach.
Hackett stays. I think Hackett's going to stay, and he should stay. I'm sorry. What offensive coordinator is winning games with Zach Wilson? At least Zach looked kind of passable, that there was enough there to have Zach Wilson truthers on Twitter trying to defend him. You know what I mean? Like, at least he looked kind of okay. Like, under LaFleur, he was unbearably bad. And at least Hackett was like, I guess I'll run a Madden playbook to see if this kid can, like, process a one read, and that's it.
I'm sure even Jamarcus Russell had his truthers back when he was with the Raiders. I'm sure every player has their truthers. Ryan Leaf probably had a couple also. Well, I know somebody he's got his truthers as well, except they are accurate because they know that he is the real deal when it comes to evaluating draft prospects. But I'm not ready for draft talk just yet. I want to talk about the here and now. So let's bring him on from Project Prospect, the great Dom C.
Hello, boys.
Wow.
How's
Two's
everyone
company,
doing?
three's a crowd, four. We've got like a riot going on in here. Holy crap.
It's a party, I guess, huh?
I
This is
know.
quite the
Tuesday
collection of
night.
facial
Yeah.
hair.
Taco Tuesday. Here we all are.
This is quite the collection of facial hair. We're looking good, boys.
How's everyone doing? Okay.
There was no advertisement for Copper Johns coming anytime soon, but that's another story. Dom, so I know you've been in the background listening a little bit. So let me put the question this way. If you could do in the off season one thing to change this offense, if you had one decision that you could make to help this offense, not talking about Rodgers coming back because that's obvious, but whether it's hiring somebody, signing somebody, drafting somebody,
Oof.
what would be the first thing you would want
all
to
of
do?
the above. All of the above.
Not an option.
Oh man. All right. Well, let me talk this out loud. There definitely needs to be upgrades, obviously, in the offensive line and in the wide receiver room. We're talking about the offense, right?
Just the offense for right now, yeah.
We're talking
Or
about the
lack thereof.
offense. Yeah. Listen, I think, and I popped in the back. I didn't have my headphones on. I wasn't listening to the whole thing. And I'm not saying that I think this is going to happen, but if you're asking me what I would do, I would probably demote Nathaniel Hackett to offensive assistant of some sort. Quarterbacks coach, guru, assistant head coach, whatever title you want to give him, and bring in somebody else to scheme and call plays. I think that is a big part of some of our failures this year is just that whatever Nathaniel Hackett's putting out for the team that we are fielding just it hasn't jived, and not all the time. I mean, in fairness, like, I watch enough of the playback and games, every game and all 22 to know that, there are guys that are open that the quarterback isn't getting to, either getting through his progressions or, isn't comfortable making throws. So, two, when they're open, but I just think that there's a genuine lack of flow in the play calling scheme. I'd get right the hell out of inside zone, which I know is a Nathaniel Hackett, staple, and give these guys some, go more to an outside zone based scheme, give these guys some more space to work in. On top of it, we have athletic offensive linemen, which move well and block well in space. So I think it's, I think it'd probably be more beneficial. So that's probably, if Aaron Rodgers fixes a lot of the problems. But if I can't take him as the number one fix, I'd probably say bring in some fresh blood and who's going to be able to sequence plays and scheme a little bit better. Not that I think that's going to happen. I think, and I don't know how I feel about it. I vary depending on the hour, but I think the whole crew is going to run back.
I actually got to put Billy's comment up here. Very strong feeling Woody is going to fire Saleh and promote Nathaniel Hackett to head coach. Billy, here's what I got to say about this. After the Adam Gase experience, there is no way the Jets can sell this fan base, especially raising the ticket prices the way they are for the first time in a long time with Hackett as the head coach. They can't sell that to anybody. Billy,
I don't see this even as a possibility.
there is maybe a 0.00001% chance that he would even be an option if Salah was hurt.
Eliminate the one. Take the one away from that.
Please.
There's
I
no
think
way
so-
you
so
promote the
Billy
guy
breathes.
who's run the worst offense in NFL history in terms of touchdowns, in terms of third down conversions, and promote him. It's
We're
demote.
thinking like old Jeff
Demote
hires.
or fire. Those are the only two options.
Well, I don't know if it's gonna. I don't know if firing is going to be. As long as Aaron Rodgers is here, he's probably not going to be fired. But
Oh, no,
Anthony
no.
Hackett goes anywhere,
could
and I
stay
don't
the
think anything
same,
happens to him.
But demoting and firing are the only two options. Promotion is not an option.
If Hackett would even accept a demotion.
well, listen. Here's the reality, in my opinion only. I think that like I said, I think this staff is probably going to get some sort of ultimatum next year. Hey, Aaron's going to be back as long as he's healthy. They're going to have an ultimatum that you advance in the playoffs or do something to some extent, win a playoff game, or else we're gonna look to retool. But on top of that, there has to be some sort of collateral damage. There's going to be some sort of action, a fall guy of some sort. Now, I think that there's last year it was Mike LaFleur, right? Mike LaFleur and Zach Wilson just didn't get along. Mike LaFleur and Elijah Moore just didn't get along. Mike LaFleur and Denzel Mims just didn't get along, right? Mike LaFleur was a different type of coach, and the Jets, they did what every NFL team does, right? If you think about the history of head coaching, right? You usually go from a disciplinarian, somebody who's strict, to a player's coach, somebody who's a little bit laid back, and then that starts to falter. And you go to a disciplinarian, they need to be whipped up into shape, and so on and so forth. And then you go to a player's coach, so on and so forth. So I think that there's going to be some sort and that's exactly what they did. Mike LaFleur was a little bit more, he expected people to execute and do their jobs. And, he didn't put up with a lot. He wasn't, that soft and cushy and cuddly kind of opposite to the players. He had expectations, and you met your expectations, or, you caught an earful about it. Or you got called out on it. And I think that they kind of reverted to the soft and cushy. Hey, let's fix the morale. Let's fix the, let's have somebody here who can, address the, kind of be a little bit more relatable. And that clearly hasn't worked. So somebody's going to be a fall guy. The only person that I can see is Hackett or maybe Calabrese, because that whole quarterback fiasco just hasn't
That's
worked.
fair.
Yeah,
that's fair.
I think Joe Douglas is the fall guy. I think you're not gonna. I don't think you're gonna be able to legitimately fire Hackett like he was given Zach Wilson, and we all knew what Zach Wilson was. And I think that if you're Saleh, if you're Aaron Rodgers, if you're Hackett, if you're anybody on that offensive, if you're on the coaching staff, just period, I think everybody can legitimately look at and point the blame at Joe Douglas. Like, if a head is going to roll, which I think it will, I think it's Joe Douglas's head that rolls.
I can't imagine a scenario where you let the general manager go and keep the entire coaching staff and everybody else.
Agreed.
Because if Joe Douglas goes, I mean, like Chad Alexander, Rex Hogan, they're all collateral damage. They're all, fired by association.
Well,
and
yeah,
I just
that happens.
I cannot. To me, this organization is completely flying backwards if what they're doing is keeping the whole coaching staff and letting go of the front office. Has the front office made mistakes? Absolutely. I have no problem acknowledging that. But to me, the good outweighs the bad. And as far as Salah goes, you know what? I was feeling better and better about him as the year went on, because he was able to rally this team. After losing Rodgers, you got to give him this. The team plays hard for him. Not saying they play smart, but they play hard. As we've seen the increase in penalties, that's the part that's been frustrating me, because that is on the coach. And when you have a team that is so battered, so beaten up, and lacking on talent, especially on the offensive side of the ball, you have to play smart. You have to play clean. You cannot beat yourself. And too many times we have seen that going back to week 4. Ever since then, the Jets are being penalized as much as any other team in the league, and that's what is so frustrating. Every time the Jets have guys, tell me if this is the same way for you. Every time the Jets have a big play on offense, I'm looking at the field looking for yellow flags. Every single time. I'm expecting it, and it shouldn't be this way. So to me, that is my biggest thing. So at least they're playing hard for him. But before I let Salah go, I have to see him have 1 year with a good quarterback, because if I'm Robert Saleh, I cannot go down with Zach Wilson. I cannot let Zach Wilson be the reason I'm never a coach in this league again. So,
Agreed.
Dom, what are your thoughts as far as that perspective on Saleh and his how secure his spot is with this organization?
I think Salah's seat is warming up a little bit. I definitely do. But like I said, I really think, in my heart of hearts, I really think that everyone got a pass 4 plays into the season when Rodgers went down. Now, listen, say what you want. Is he the best head coach I've ever seen? No, I think Salah's a good, he definitely, people like to play for him. There's definitely that allure that, he's definitely, I think a good leader of men. I'm still up in the air on how good of a head coach he is. Like, that there's just something in me. Like, there's very few coaches in this league. Mike Tomlin is one. Mike Tomlin, I think, is exceptional at it, where they're truly like a GM, like a president of the team, not president by title, but like,
CEO,
that CEO of the team, exactly. Where, they have people that they trust to make the offense run well, to make the defense run well, to make the special teams run well, and they just kind of, make sure that everything flows in the direction. Mike Tomlin is a perfect example of that. Salah's biggest fatal flaw, and I know everyone's going to say Greg Knapp was supposed to be here and be this, but we didn't get that opportunity. But Saleh desperately needed stronger voices, stronger coaching on the offensive side of the ball in years 1 and 2. He desperately needed it, right? Maybe they thought Hackett could bring that stability in, or is it year 1 and 2, or what is this Salah's third year or second year? Third. Yeah. So maybe they thought that Hackett could bring that stability and that veteran leadership in the coaching room on the offensive side, but it just hasn't worked, in my opinion.
Yeah, but you were going to have Rodgers. That was going to be the leadership, right, on the offensive side of the room.
Yeah.
He was going to veto and push anything he liked.
You're going to audible at the line.
Yeah, well, and I think that has a lot. Like I said, I think that the scheme with Aaron Rodgers there would have looked, the offense obviously would have looked a lot better because Aaron Rodgers as a quarterback is here and Zach Wilson is probably way down here. But, the ability to change the plays and kind of right any wrongs or being given that liberty to do it. Zach hasn't been able to do that. So maybe maybe Hackett needs that to have his offense really take off. But whatever it is right now, the whole process from the top, from Saleh not being involved as much or not having as much knowledge involved in the offensive side, it just hasn't worked. So I think there's going to be a fall guy. I don't know. Listen, I've been as big of a Joe Douglas supporter as possible, but he's not blameless in this whole thing either. You cannot tell me, or at least I'm not ready to believe that when Saleh went down, when Rodgers went down.
Yeah, Saleh went down on Sunday when Zach knocked him over.
No, when Rodgers went down, that he didn't get some sort of security or say, hey, listen, just get through the year. Listen, we lost Breece Hall last year, right? And within 3 days, we had James Robinson in here. You can't tell me that they were just fine kind of going at it again with Zach and repeating last year again. Like there had to have been some kind of talks that said, don't worry about it. Just get through the year. Let's not spend any more money. And we'll regroup and reconvene in 2024 with $35 million in cap space.
And that was the main thing that I kept saying was I don't think that we were trading and giving away any more future assets for a quarterback rental. We weren't giving up a 1 for Cousins. We already lost our 2 for Rodgers. There was no way we're giving up future assets for another quarterback. It just didn't make sense. Something I want to add to the who gets the blame or who gets fired. The New York Jets for years had general manager hired, coach fired. They overlapped. Everyone's going at the same time. I don't think the Johnsons are doing we're going to bring in a new GM and the GM's got to stick with Saleh as coach. I don't think. I think it's when everyone gets fired, everyone's going simultaneously, and they're going to start from the top and then work it down to the field.
I agree with that. I agree with that wholeheartedly. Like, and listen, if you told me today, just say hypothetical, let's play a game, right? What are we, 4-6 right now? We finished the season 5-12. There's a possibility that they just cut bait with everyone. There's a possibility that it happens, regardless if Rodgers, wants it or not. But if they push through and just say they get to, 6, 7, 8 wins, I think there's a good chance that we see everyone back. But if they fired everyone tomorrow, like I can't say that I'd be floored or flabbergasted. Like, it's listen, we know that Joe Douglas pushed for a 6-year contract for a reason, right? Yep. He knew that he had a big rebuild doing. He broke it down to the studs and built it back up. And then, at some point there's going to be you're going to have to kind of hold the general manager accountable for wins, right? It should have been, at year 3, you should really start seeing some growth. And we saw some last year. You saw the defense really step up and take that plunge. And I think that they, in a sense, kind of were backtracking on the whiff of the number 2 overall pick by going and getting Aaron Rodgers. And that was going to be the fix to bring the offense up to the same level as defense. Right. So there's obviously, there's something to that where they knew that they had to make a change or else they wouldn't have made the change. Right. So if they make a change and then that fails 4 plays into the season, and then for them to just sit on their hands, either it's the wrong guy calling the shots at the top in Joe Douglas, which I don't think is the case, or he's being told, listen, just ride it out, figure it out. Yeah. Let's get through the season and reconvene in 2024.
I see, Adam, if you don't mind real quick, I see Billy's latest comment. All you guys were saying the same thing. Why aren't they signing Wentz or Matt Ryan or Tannehill or even Flacco? I never said that.
I never said any of those things.
I said from day one, that was never me. I said Carson Wentz is a disease in every locker room he's ever been in. Joe Douglas was there in Philly. Those guys hated him. There was a parade when he got hurt and Foles took over because they loved Foles.
Same thing happened in Washington.
In Washington and Indy, they could not get rid of him fast enough.
Well, I'll say this.
Celebrated and smoked cigars when the guy left, like the Raiders were doing when McDaniels got fired. He has been a cancer to every locker room he's gone to.
I'll say this. Trading for Tannehill. Flacco's immobile. They were going to ride it out with Zach this year, and they did exactly what I thought they would do.
I'll say this. Before the season, preseason, there were definitely some people that were clamoring, hey, we need to get another backup quarterback in here. If Zach's going to take a redshirt year, we need another backup quarterback. There's definitely a contingent of people that said that. I'm not going to say I was one of them because I just thought that the backup quarterback was a non-issue.
Yeah.
Now,
we thought it was taking a knee in a 20-point lead, taking a knee, handing it off to Michael Carter when we're up 17 with 4 minutes left.
How many of us made the joke that he was going to come in the third quarter of every game because we were up by 30 so that we wouldn't have to give up the first-round pick? Yeah. Every single person made that joke, right? That Zach was going to come in to just light it up and close out games so that we didn't give up the first-round pick.
Hindsight being 2020, I definitely wasn't clamoring for a backup in preseason, and once it went down and they didn't make a move, that's when I started saying, maybe that was a mistake. Maybe I was wrong on that. Maybe we should have had a backup in there, And once they didn't make a move and kind of rode it out with Zach for the next couple weeks, that's when I came to the realization that there's probably more to this, and they're being told, listen, don't spend any more money. It's a 2023 is a sunk cost. We're gonna placate and make the fans. We're gonna do what we can to win grimy, and hopefully our defense is as good as we think it is. But the reality is that as good as the defense is, to win like that consistently is not sustainable.
But I also think that in that scenario, like Zach was showing life. You know what I mean?
Nah.
The New England game was horrible. Like, I'm not going to sit here and say that, but like, how many people after the Dallas game was like, Zach kind of wasn't the problem. He kind of looked okay. And then the Kansas City game happens and you just like, you lose out of some BS. And then, we start turning it around and we're winning games. And yeah, it's in spite of Zach and there are problems. We're not getting into the red zone, but like, it was always, if you're a general manager, if you're Joe Douglas, and I will say this, Joe Douglas has been a bit stubborn when it comes to moving off of his guys, as you should be, right? Like those are your guys. I get that aspect of why he's doing that. But there was enough there for him to be like, well, in a year where we don't have very many assets, I'm not going to use those assets to bring in another guy when I think that, what happens if Uzama doesn't hold, or what happens if this doesn't?
Here's why I don't
excuses that you can make to not get a quarterback.
Here's why I don't get down with that, because you could have brought in a quarterback after week 1 without spending any assets. It would have only cost money, and
we don't have a ton of
it. But it doesn't matter. You still had $7 million at that point. You could have brought in a quarterback for less than $7 million. They chose not to, right? They legitimately chose not to. They chose not to bring in a quarterback and to scratch the idea of giving Zach the whole thing. So let's call a spade a spade. They benched Zach twice last year. They benched him for Chris Streveler and Mike White, right? So they knew that Zach wasn't the answer. They wouldn't have went on this wild goose chase for Aaron Rodgers or Derek Carr or anybody else if they really, really believed that Zach was the answer. They knew that Zach wasn't the answer. So once they chose not to bring in a quarterback, I think that they got the whether it's an ultimatum or they got the clearance to, hey, do what you can, play hard, win dirty, and whatever happens, we'll reconvene in 24.
Quick shout out to a couple of other folks who joined us here in the chat. The great Johnny Jimenez, frequent visitor of just about everybody's channel, and my fellow Virginia Jets fan. Good to see you, my friend. John Nolte is a true Becton may try to play Friday. Yep, he's going to try with a sprained ankle. Thankfully, it's a lower ankle sprain as opposed to a high ankle sprain. So the Jets actually get good injury news, which doesn't happen very often. But you got to give him credit. I've had my little issues with Becton about his maturity and things like that. But I do feel like he is growing up a little bit. And, of course, that comes down to one reason, and that is Cam Clark mentoring him, one of the best draft picks that they had in Joe Douglas's first draft.
Wait, you're leaving out the most obvious reason. Contract year. Everybody's a good soldier in their contract year. They say the right thing. They do the right thing. The agent, the PR team are with them constantly because you have to maximize your value. And you can't be stubborn and selfish. You got to show you're the team player. I hope he sticks with it. I like the guy this year a lot. I think he's grown as a person and as a player. And I hope it's just not for show because it is a contract year.
Yeah. And Nolte, I don't necessarily agree with your last comment.
I just put a comment on that.
Yeah, I think White, listen, White's from Florida. His family is from Florida. He had an opportunity to get paid bigger money than we were probably willing to offer him, with an opportunity to back up one of the most injury-prone quarterbacks in the league. Sometimes you just can't keep everyone. Just like Nick Herbig, right? We all loved Herbie, and we couldn't promise him a chance to start. So he went to Pittsburgh, and they they offered him the same money, if not less, than we were going to offer him, but he had an opportunity to win a starting job, which he ultimately didn't because they signed Isaac Seumalo right, right after they signed Herbig. But sometimes sometimes there's other factors into it. I don't think that they kept White away from the Jets because of Zach Wilson. No, I don't think that at all. I think that White just saw the writing on the wall and said, do I want to come to New Jersey, and ultimately make less money because no state income tax is a real thing? Or do I want to be at home, my home state where my family is and grounded and have ultimately a better chance to get in and effectuate a game?
Would anybody be surprised if White gets into the game on Friday? I know I wouldn't. Whether it's injury or whether it's a blowout, I would not be surprised at all to see that
I don't
happen.
think blowout is going to happen. Like, the defense is still elite, but it's one of those things where it's just like they'll get to 16 points and we'll have 3 if we're lucky, and then they'll just they'll take the foot off the gas and they'll just run it down your throat. And Raheem Mostert is insane. So this year, for some reason,
because he's healthy. Yeah. He had an 80-yard touchdown against us, had one other carry, and was out for the rest of the season. Like, the guy's finally healthy, so he's always shown the ability. That playoff game years ago, he was a freaking monster, but he's never been able to complete a season. He's always had great talent, but he couldn't stay healthy. He's the Elijah Vera Tucker of running backs.
And the one thing with Mostert, he has more fumbles than any running back in the league this year. He has 4 fumbles.
Well,
so
he's not going to fumble with spaghetti arm sauce smacking at him, afraid to make a tackle. And I got to say this. 2 games in a row now, I've watched Sauce get beat, lazy effort, jog downfield where he could have made a play. The Josh Jacobs run in Vegas, where he maybe could have got there and maybe got on the ball before it bounced out of bounds if he wasn't jogging behind the play after his weak-ass smack attempt. And then in the Buffalo play, I'm glad he got lit up with a block in the back at the last second because he was jogging and he could have made a play on the cutback, but he was jogging again. So I'm getting a little tired of that bullshit. Don't say how elite you are and go to Twitter complaining when you can't make a tackle in the run game. And when you do finally make a tackle, you pick the guy up and suplex him like Ivan Putski. What the hell was that?
I think what
Get your goddamn head right, dude.
But I think what we're starting to see is the frustration. This is why we bench Zach Wilson. It's because the defense is starting to get frustrated. That's what I think that is. I think the Michael Clemens BS and all of that stuff. You're a professional. I get individual that. Performance.
Every play, every rep is on tape. You can't start pulling that crap. If you're going to be a leader and you want a big contract, that you can't pull that shit.
I get that, but let's not forget that the kid's 22, right? Making millions of dollars. I'm not saying that excuses it. It's the same thing that I saw from Garrett Wilson last year. You know what I mean? Throwing his hands up and being, it's like, okay, yeah, dude, you're wildly emotional and you want to win really, really badly, but you don't see Devontae Adams doing that, and he had to deal with the Raiders. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The worst we got out of Devontae is when he happened to have a camera on him on the sideline. And even that was really, really tame. And he just happened to be like, I'm tired of this, with more explicitives in it.
Clearly, Sauce wouldn't have jogged on that play if we hadn't cut Michael Carter because he was such a great locker room presence, evidently. The sarcasm is not.
I picked it up. You dropped it. I picked it up. It was well done.
Give us a chance.
Hey, I got a split. I got to be up early tomorrow, which is rare for me. Getting out of work, I go on 7:30 tomorrow morning with Boy Green. So that'll be a fun experience.
I'm glad we were able to get you for the few minutes. Thank you for clearing out a few minutes in your always busy schedule for the little guys.
I got off the couch and I'm in midway through season 4 of Homeland, which I started last Monday to show you how busy my life is. So it's good to see the couch detached from my ass for a little bit. And as always, great seeing you boys and everyone in the chat. Thank you. Proud New York Jets fans on YouTube. If you aren't already, please go subscribe. And have a good night, boys. We'll all talk soon.
And I got to say one more thing. All of a sudden, I feel very confident that I will stump the room with trivia because you will not be here.
Oh, son of a bitch. do one before we go.
You want me to do it right now?
If you don't mind, I'm not telling you
for later.
I'm not telling you what to do with your show. I mean, I got to get ready for bed. I'll be listening.
It's 11 o'clock. That's about when we typically do it. So, let's go ahead and enter the trivia round.
That's cool.
Oh,
I like that little bit.
Okay, so let's add the. We're gonna have the question in just 1 second. I'm gonna pull the clock up now. If, as anyone who's been here before, we give you 5 minutes to answer the question, but usually we're in a good mood. We'll always give you a couple of extra minutes, and we'll see how long it takes to get it. So let's put the question up on the screen. It's Jets Dolphins related. Here we go. Name the only player who has played for both the Jets and Dolphins who played college football for North Dakota State University.
Current or ever?
Ever.
Was it one of these teams' draft picks?
This is not 20 questions.
Oh, I know. I know.
Okay.
Put it in the private chat.
Dan Feeney.
It is not Dan Feeney. Yes, I try high tech, John. Yes, I do.
I'm gonna guess
I
because
know.
I don't know where he went to school. I'm gonna throw out Jay Fiedler.
It is not Jay Fiedler. I want to say a quick hello to my friend Mike Stender, also member of the Virginia Jets fans. Awesome guy. I appreciate you stopping by, my friend. For
Adam,
sure.
I'm gonna DM you because I don't want to give it away.
Okay.
But I think I got it.
I'll look at the private chat. On Twitter
Yeah.
or X. Okay, I'll be looking.
Billy
Well done,
SBC with a great comment. There's a North Dakota
Totally
State
forgot he went
University.
to NDSU, dude. And then I was scrolling through and I was like, oh, wait, he's an NDSU player. So I just took a wild guess. I had no idea he played for Miami.
Yes, Billy, this is where Bob Backlund learned to procure the chicken wing on all the plebeians and all the commoners and all the peasants. Yes, North Dakota State. Pretty good football program, as a matter of fact.
I'm going to ask you another question on X, and I just want you to say yes or no.
Okay. Keep it rated G this time.
Dakota State.
Let me I'm not sure because I think so. I think you're correct.
Let me go Google it.
Yeah, I was going to do the same. I'm pretty sure that they did. I'm pretty sure. He was.
What are we looking at here?
Yeah, he was.
Yeah.
Offense or defense? What are we looking at?
Offense.
Oh, this is such a good one. This is a great one, Adam.
Right?
This is a great one.
I would say offensive, actually, not offense. If you want to call it offense. Oh, I love this.
He plays on offense, but generally for the opposing team's defense.
You're going to give it away like that. I know it. That's okay, though. Yep, Billy. Billy SBC. He's on it. It's Billy Turner, of all people. Billy effing Turner. Yep.
I didn't know he played for Miami.
Yeah,
he was drafted by Miami.
I didn't know he played for the Jets.
Here's the Dolphins pick, and here's this just lovely hairstyle going. Yeah, that hair at Red Wrap he's got going on. So,
24.
Billy Turnstiles himself.
Interesting.
Yeah, I know.
Now I'm looking up. Now that it's done, I looked up North Dakota State players in the NFL. There's a lot of them. A lot of names.
They won a lot of championships. They're pretty much always in like the Final Four in Division II or 1AA, whatever they call it now.
Well, obviously the big two that everyone knows: Trey Lance and Carson Wentz.
Great players to hang your hat on.
Dylan Radunz, Easton Stick, Cordell Volson, Christian Watson, Joe Haig,
Cody
Mauch.
Yep. Who'd you say the best of the lot is out of that group? Out of the North Dakota State guys.
Oh,
you have to say Wentz, right? Because he theoretically led the Philadelphia Eagles to a Super Bowl.
I mean, I guess, yeah.
I know it's not a lot to hang your hat on. I'm aware of that, but
Jabril Cox. I loved him in college.
You loved Cox in college, huh, Don?
I love Cox, man.
I had to. It was a layup. I had to take it.
Nobody hit like Cox. Yep, we know.
I mean, I'm looking back now at the Wikipedia of North Dakota State guys drafted, and just recently, like since nobody before Wentz, Billy Turner was before Wentz, but like 2014, Kyle Emanuel, Joe Haig, Haeg, Easton Stick, Derek, Tuska, Cordell, Volson, and then the guys that you guys mentioned already. So I think, yeah, it's easy. Wentz, and then probably Watson would be next up online.
And Watson hadn't exactly
Best
been
talent.
killing it since Aaron Rodgers isn't throwing him passes anymore. Let's be honest. Yeah, I don't think
Yeah, but
Watson.
he's got the talent, though, right?
He's got the talent, but yeah. Jordan Love's. It's funny, these Packers fans who are talking so much smack. Oh, Jordan Love is going to come right in, throw for 4,000 yards, and all of the.
That
they
first
were
game
so
was great.
confident about Jordan Love. Wow.
Jordan Love's first game was like the Mike White Bengal game. After that, it was like, all right, there's nothing else. We have that.
You know what?
moment.
He was Matt Flynn. He was Matt Flynn's one great game.
Seattle's going to give him a 3-year, $25 million deal next year.
Multi-land, was Billy a turnstile in college too, considering, he might have been facing the same level of competition that Zach Wilson and his offensive line were facing, because, Zach always had a wall in front of him at BYU. So when you have an hour and a half to throw every pass, you're generally going to look pretty good. But, if only you still had Dax Milne around.
I got to tell you, Adam, that was a good, not a trick question, but I don't consider Billy Turner a Jet, so his name would have never.
It was a great.
Oh, that's a good one.
It's a great question because you have no reason to know that he went to NDSU at all.
Yeah.
And even if you did, I legitimately, when I texted him, it was based purely on Billy Turner went to North Dakota State. Did at any point he end up on Miami's roster? That was it.
Yeah, it's true. I think of Turner as a Bronco, really, more than anything. Maybe a Pack, but yeah, I did not remember him as a Dolphin.
Yeah, I remember him as a Bronco.
Yeah, more than anything.
I'm going to use the bathroom, but I also have a pretty good trivia question. I think we all know the answer, but I would love to put it out to the chat, but I need to piss more than anything. I can hear all of you, so don't talk shit.
And this Tego Piss Break is brought to you by... Okay. But yes, Billy SBC is exactly right. When you have an hour and a half to throw past your Tom Brady 1,000 times, this is correct. Yeah, let me see Brady try to succeed in front of this offense or any quarterback with 4 backups playing. Not that easy. I will say this, Warren allowed some pressures, but the offensive line, yeah, they all allowed. I think they all allowed a sack. I think there was one exception, but yeah, Warren was really thrust into the fire. Warren clearly to me is this year's version of Max Mitchell, where the idea was for him to be every time the Jets have a player that they want to have be a redshirt year, he winds up needing to play. What? Pretty much, I'm waiting for Zach Kuntz to have to play any day now. The way this is going,
yep.
Wilson, Mitchell. I mean, yeah, on and on it goes.
Abanaconda.
Yeah, Abanaconda. I always had a suspicion he might come in, though. I just had this feeling eventually he would play. Just when you have that much speed and natural talent, they're going to give you a couple of spots. Oh, but that said, I couldn't believe that his first snap in the game came with 5 minutes to go. Just ridiculous.
And they were in prevent, so you just run up the middle. You got 9.5 yards, but
yeah, that was like Michael Carter getting to 60 yards receiving because the defense was in the previous week because they were in prevent. Same thing. And the only two, Dalvin Cook's actually running the ball better, and now that he's running the ball, they give him the ball less. This is the stuff that I just cannot understand. He had 2 runs, one of which was on a 3rd and 19.
Yeah.
I mean, so there were things in personnel usage that got better this week. We saw less snaps to Allen Lazard. We saw less snaps to C.J. Uzomah. I don't even think he had a pass thrown his way. So there were things that were better, but the more it didn't feel like anything had really changed. I mean, you were playing Jason Brownlee. You're playing Xavier Gibson. You barely noticed Brownlee was on the field. So we tried Gibson. We tried Taylor. We've tried Brownlee. And I got to say, these guys, from what I'm seeing, they're mostly invisible. I feel like now here's the thing. And here's what I'm going to ask you guys. Do you feel that is more on the receivers not able to separate, or was it about Zach Wilson not looking for them, not targeting them in the passing game?
Don't think that they were supposed to be wide receivers on this football team. They were undrafted free agents that were supposed to be guys that you can stash on a practice squad and, develop, and maybe they turn into something. I seriously think people forget that at the beginning of this offseason, or when camp was supposed to start, the idea of what I think that they thought this wide receiver room was supposed to look like was Garrett Wilson at the 1, Odell Beckham Jr. at the 2, Corey Davis at the 3, Alan Lazard at the 4, with McCole Hardman and Randall Cobb running the back end of wide receiver 5 and 6. That was supposed to be the wide receiver room. Now, that wide receiver room is a much better wide receiver room than what we ended up with. OBJ got stupid money from the Baltimore Ravens. I don't think a single person expected the Jets to come in with an $18 million deal. I don't think anybody was going to come in with an $18 million deal. Then the Ravens did it, and it's working out for them. Zay Flowers is their 1, and OBJ is working as a support role, but it's still working for them. Corey Davis retires out of nowhere, post-free agency and post-draft. And now you're in a position where you don't have wide receiver 2. The guy who was theoretically supposed to be wide receiver 3/4 is now wide receiver 2. Randall Cobb is now wide receiver 3. McCole Hardman can't find the field. And now you've got Xavier Gibson and Jason Brownlee, who, again, I got really hyped on because of one play. And I'll bite the bullet there. Maybe Dom C was right in saying it was a bit too soon to call Jason Brownlee the offensive rookie of the year after one catch. But it was the offseason, and I was being hyperbolic.
But you stuck with it. You didn't listen to Dom. You stuck with it.
I still believe there's a lot of season to be played.
But again, to that point, Tigo, OBJ signed with Baltimore, and you're not gonna he definitely wanted to come to New York. You know, he came back to New York and said, "Hey, listen, this is what I'm getting offered. Can you match it?" And they said no, and that's fine. Corey Davis retired after that, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
So again, you know, some of this has to fall on Joe Douglas. Like, all right, it's not you weren't dependent on OBJ and Corey Davis and Alan Lazard and Garrett Wilson. You knew OBJ wasn't coming, and then once Corey Davis didn't come, you know, you kind of you rested on your laurels and you sat on your hands.
So did you want him to make a trade for somebody? I mean, who was out there to sign Woods Davis? This was during training camp.
Yeah, but by that time you had the rookies. You had Brownlee. You had Rodgers mentioning Brownlee and Gibson and Charles, right? Irving,
Charles Taylor, all these guys.
You had Rodgers developing a rapport with these guys. So I mean, yes, our wide receiver core looks bad, but I think we can all agree, which we rarely do. All of us agree. The receiving core would be better with Rodgers playing. So I think that factors into it.
Well, the entire offense would be better with Rodgers playing.
But Rodgers has a good history of taking guys who are late round picks or undrafted and making them quality players, if not, Crosby.
I think if Rodgers
Jordy Nelson was like a 6, right?
I think if Rodgers was there, you'd probably see a lot more effective Randall Cobb as well. So there's that too.
Yeah,
I get it.
But again,
Mecole Hardman would still probably be here. You know, Mecole Hardman. The reason Mecole Hardman didn't play and ultimately got shipped off was, and I believe it when they said they wanted to give him a chance. You got to remember, Zach Wilson came into this season with the understanding he was going to be back up. He was going to get a redshirt year. He was going to learn an offense, right?
Yep.
Again, I am not defending Zach because I don't think he's a good quarterback, and I've said that for a while.
I've never heard you say that.
Nick and I
never heard you say that. This is the first time.
There come to blows, physical fists being thrown through the internet. These two.
However, you know, you gotta call. Like I said, I gotta call a spade too. Zach Wilson then gets thrust into the situation after Rodgers goes down. You know, he plays in the Buffalo game. Okay. They then completely scrap the offense that he was learning to call something that's going to be very, very, very vanilla and conservative, right? Now he's playing an offense that he's not capable of really excelling at with guys that that really don't want him there, right? I mean, the defense didn't want him there last year. I mean, Mosley grabbed Saleh by the shirt and said, "You got to make a change," and they made a change. You know, they obviously didn't. They obviously didn't want him in there because they went and wooed Aaron Rodgers into coming here. So there's some of
Ooh.
that. There's some of that.
You know?
There's some of that involved in it too. Is like
Yeah.
as bad and as much fault as I say, it is what it is. Like the quarterback's got to be better. He just wasn't capable of it.
Yeah, I agree.
He kind of, this year in particular, I think he got a little bit of a raw deal. I'm not saying that if he had that redshirt year that he'd come back next year and we're looking at the reincarnation of Brett Favre. I don't think that he just had that. I just don't think he had that in him, and that it is what it is. Like the draft is a very, very finicky thing, right? You miss more than you hit,
Yep.
It just sucks when you miss number 2 overall. It's not the first time it's happened. It won't be the last time that it's happened.
It's not even the first time it's happened by us. Blair Thomas, baby.
Blair, who are those are so we have 3 number 2 overall picks in our history. Zach, Blair Thomas, and the other one is Johnny Lamb Jones.
Nice.
1, 2, 3 strikes, you're out.
So
that's sad.
Tigo, do you have that question you teased before? And then
Well, you know the answer because I did it in the group chat, right? And you were the only one who engaged. But
right.
I think
I hung around for something I know the answer to.
Yeah, no. So I think it's a really, really good one, and I think the chat will have a fun time with this. So there are only 2 schools ever to have a player from their school drafted number 1 overall in the NBA, the MLB, and the NFL. Can the chat name those 2 schools? I thought this was a really, really interesting question, especially because there has never been NBA, MLB, and the NFL.
Well, I'm full.
I told you. Wait, I told you Dom has me blocked. He can't read my messages. He's guessing
full
that.
disclosure. I've never seen this in the chat. So.
I don't think I have either.
Yeah, it must have been your private chat.
Everybody for like
Dom, you do this weird thing called work. You work sometimes, so
Yeah,
you
dude,
can't always read the chat. You fucking weirdo.
Hey, we work hard for the money, so you better treat us right. Okay.
Well,
incorrect, right. Johnny, and incorrect, Rusty. Incorrect, Malty.
There's 2 schools, right?
Sorry about missing the chat, guys. It's just getting on. Yeah,
the MLB is
close except for basketball.
The MLB is going to be a tough one.
I'm going to say
the MLB is the one that gives it away.
I'm going to say Texas.
If no one knows the MLB, go off of NBA and NFL together. Like I'll tell you my first guess. My first guess was Utah because they did it in the same year with Alex Smith and the forward.
Also incorrect.
Utah. But it's not Utah. But that was my first guess, knowing they did it in the same year. So I went off. I didn't know the MLB picks.
See, here's the thing. But here's where that Adam. But here's the thing, Nick.
Okay.
It's not Oklahoma. Here's where that tricks you. There are like 30 schools that have had number 1 overall picks in both the NFL and NBA. So it's a big list that goes there. The trick is, and this is why I love this question, is you have to understand. It's not Auburn. You have to not understand, but you have to at least kind of know a little bit who went number 1 overall in baseball.
And how many people?
It's not Florida State. Exactly. And that's the great part.
All right.
I've heard Venezuela.
Johnny Jimenez got one. Johnny Jimenez just got one. LSU.
Yep. LSU because
so LSU is Shaq,
Joe Burrow.
Joe Burrow.
And so is it recent times or is it ever?
Ever.
Because the LSU guy was just this year. Baseball was just this year, number 1, right?
It was last year. Last year, I think.
Oh. So it's somebody nobody would have heard of it over here. You don't hear about the baseball picks for like 5 years.
And so here's the other part, and why I love this question for a Jets channel is like if like you should be familiar with the player who's in the MLB right now who went number 1 overall because he's on a New York team.
It's not North Carolina.
Ole Miss?
It's not North Carolina. It's not Ole Miss.
Johnny, I got the North Carolina shirt on right now, so I think I'm.
It's not Ole Miss?
It is not Ole Miss. Ole Miss does not have a number 1 overall baseball player.
I'm thinking Southern schools because I can't imagine baseball.
I got a good hint.
No hints. No hints, Nick.
No, it's a good hint. It's one word.
What?
Rings.
That is a good hint.
Thank you. It's not a hand you the answer, but it plants a seed where you got to start thinking about that.
Michigan?
It is
No.
not NC
It
State.
said rings.
Michigan.
The fuck did they win?
Michigan.
I wish it was
Thinking of
NC
Michigan
State.
is the
Thinking Tom
only
Brady
school.
rings.
Clemson?
No, it is not Clemson. Dom, Michigan is the only school who has a number 1 overall pick in the ML. No, has it NHL, NFL, and NBA. The only one they're missing is if they can get a number 1 overall pick baseball player, they'll have one in all 4 major sports. And it's not NC State.
Rings.
I'll give you a hint. Get out of the South.
Okay.
I know you're thinking SEC. Get out of the SEC.
I'm actually not.
I'll tell you one that I guessed that it's not. It is not Stanford, because I thought with Andrew Luck and I guessed Stanford because I was thinking who went number 1.
Oh, well, no, that won't work. That's not college.
Just focus on this.
He was number 2. I was going to say, but that's SEC anyway, Kentucky.
Nope.
But I was thinking Couch, but Couch was number 2 overall.
Johnny got it.
Johnny got it.
UCLA?
Lou
UCLA,
Alcindor,
Garrett Cole.
Troy Aikman, and Garrett Cole.
Garrett Cole. Oh, Garrett Cole at UCLA. I didn't even know he was number 1. Okay.
I didn't even know he went to
2014.
UCLA.
UCLA.
UCLA and LSU. Okay. Very good.
But when it was
Only
Lou
2 teams.
Alcindor and Troy Aikman, I threw that one in there. I was like, UCLA? He's like, that's it. I go, who's the pitcher? He's like, Garrett Cole. He's a Yankee. I go, I don't know the fuck he went to school.
How many people?
That's
how
why-
many people in the chat watch college baseball? Nobody.
But
Well,
no,
you
but
know what?
that's the whole point. That's
Well,
why I love that question.
Baseball's so tough because, especially
It's
now,
international.
it's
Yeah.
international, and a lot of the kids don't go to college. They get
They go
drafted
right
out
out
of
of high school.
right out of high school.
But that's why this is such a great question, because it was the kid out of LSU, and so Garrett Cole was the number 1 pick in 2014. I think since 2014 and last year, the kid out of LSU, I think there's been only 1 player taken out of college that went number 1 overall, and that's why it's a great question, because, like, first of all, who knows about number 1 overall picks in baseball, because they take years to get to the
What's that,
majors
Tim
anyway.
Cruz, right? That's his name, Cruz.
I have no idea. No idea.
No, that's the number 1 pick was that guy Paul Skeens, the guy who's dating the really hot gymnast Olivia Dunn.
Yeah.
Nick,
Yep.
how do you not know who this guy is?
I know her. I don't know him. I don't need to know him. I'm not following his Instagram.
That's
He's
a good.
definitely one of
That
those
is a
guys
good
who looks
trivia
like- he's
question,
got-
Tigo.
He's got like the 80s porn stash going on. Like he
Yeah.
looks like a reject from the Village People. So I don't know how he pulled that off, but he did.
Listen, I
Probably
fancy
his number 1
I
pick.
fancy myself pretty good with like college trivia. Like I know who goes to what college. Not in baseball though. I didn't know that. I didn't know that.
Me neither.
But like you
When
said,
I got
because you guys
posed that question, I got LSU immediately. And it took me and my entire group of friends, and most of them are baseball fans. It took us 45 minutes
Wow.
based purely because we did the same thing that you guys were doing. Baseball schools, okay, I'm going to take the Midwest and the South, and we're just going to name every college in the Midwest and in the South because that's where the baseball guys come from. And then you're like, who remembers that Garrett Cole went to UCLA?
Yeah.
I mean, West Coast does make sense because you think Florida, Texas, California. That's the area that you would think. We weren't exactly thinking North Dakota State would be one of the answers here. But that's the thing. It was 2 schools that's like, yeah, that makes sense. It's not like we were picking out some random school from, from the Great Plains or anything like that. So it's like, yeah, I get it. So it does make sense. Johnny, what do you win?
A crisp high five the next time I see you, Johnny.
Let's see what I can let's see what we can pull off here. That's about all I got for you. I'm sorry. Here's a nice good yawn for you.
Johnny got both of them too.
Man,
His wife Googles for him in bed while he's on the show.
No wonder he can't stay single.
You got any more, Adam? If not, I don't have a trivia question, but I got a question to throw around if you don't have anything.
Yeah, go ahead. I can look for one more. Yeah, go ahead. I'll look something up in the meantime. Fire away.
All right. Gun to your head. Without knowing free agency or what happens. If you had to make the pick for the New York Jets right now at number 11 in the draft, who are you taking? Dom, I'll kick it to you, and I'll go Adam, Tigo, me.
Well, that's really hard, Nick, because
I know.
who's going 1 through 10 is the first question.
I think we have an
you know
idea
what?
of who should be there, right?
I do, and I'm gonna say a name, that probably and a lot of people aren't looking at. I mean, everyone's gonna think wide receiver, everyone's gonna
I
think
love this
tight
pick.
end. I'm gonna say Brock Bowers.
Okay.
Brock Bowers is an offensive weapon. He's not just tight end. He's, he blocks like a tight end. He blocks like a dog. He can get out in the slot. He's a big old receiver. He's an offensive weapon. I will take Brock Bowers. I think he's one of the two real, and I'm not throwing this term around lightly. I know we talked about it in our podcast ego. I think there's two generational players, legitimately two generational players in this draft class, and he's one of them. There's not a tight end that's going to come around like Brock Bowers for the next 12, 15 years.
Harrison Jr. being the other one.
Yeah, there's not a receiver that's going to be there like Harrison Jr.
I would love the Georgia pick. You know that.
Yeah.
Adam, where are you at?
I think the first. I will say this: the only criteria I really have is plug and play offense immediately, whether it's offensive line or wide receiver. Either one of those, I'll be good. From what I can see, one guy that I'm looking at that I think could be available at 11 is the Notre Dame tackle, Joe Alt. Yeah, Joe Alt. I'm kind of and
probably won't make 11, but
for the little bit that I've seen, because I'm still kind of focusing on the season. But 6'8", 315, not the worst look. Because I guess I'm getting a little bit shy about a tackle. It was like 340, 350 after what we dealt with Becton. But yeah, I want to plug and play left tackle. I want the next DeBrickashaw for the next 10 years. That is what I think we need more than anything. Because
Dude, I'll take a left tackle for 10 games right now. Forget 10 years. I'll take a guy who can play just 10 games.
The pain is real, my friends. The pain is real.
I guess. Yeah, Joe Alt goes. He's a top 8 pick.
Okay.
Oh man,
we might get there. We could get there.
I don't think he makes it past New England. If I'm making the pick right now without knowing anything, I think I'm probably going to take Fatanu, the tackle, just because he's the third tackle on my board. And if you want to know more about my board, go and subscribe to the Project Prospect channel, because we're going to be talking about that soon.
Wait, Fatanu from Washington or Fashanu from Penn State?
Fatanu.
Don't know him.
Wait. Fashanu's going to go number 4 overall. Fashanu's not going to make it to 11.
Tony Fatanu is. I'm gonna nerd on you guys real quick. Great player. Definitely getting first round buzz, but I mean it's more than likely he's going to definitely.
Oh my God! I said the wrong guy. I was watching their tape. Fuaga.
You're thinking Fuaga. Okay, that makes more sense. I was going to say.
I saw him in my head. But I just watched the Washington game. Is what happened. I was just watching the Washington game.
Oregon State, yeah.
Yeah, Oregon State, yeah. I was just watching the Washington game. I literally have my notebook over there with all the notes because I was doing Penix and Rome and all of those guys, and I was watching Fatanu. I meant Fuaga. If I'm picking at 11, I'm going to take Fuaga. 6'3", 334, immediately comes in and plays right tackle for this team. You can put Elijah Vera Tucker at left tackle, and then, you've kind of got your bookend tackles moving forward, assuming health from AVT. In an ideal world, I'd love to bring, if I wish Becton didn't get hurt, but I feel like that just kind of ended his opportunities. That's probably the last we see. He'll probably be back, but I think he's done with the New York Jets, and I think you have to go offensive tackle in the first round. And if the Jets are picking anywhere in that range, I think Fuaga is easily the right pick. Can't believe
Let's go answer multi-lands question. So, we can. The rest of us can kind of talk about this for a moment. Would you guys extend Becton? I think if there's one player that you franchise, you could do with him for 1 year. But in terms of giving him a long-term contract, I think it might be a situation where both sides might want to part. I feel like it's almost like Zach Wilson, except Becton's a better player at his position. I don't think he's going to get extended. I think the Jets are definitely going to look to put AVT at right tackle and draft a left tackle and have two bookends on the outside because I feel like that's just the way that's the way it's going to go.
And I don't think you can franchise tag him. Would you give him a $22 million contract? Because that's what the franchise tag is.
For 2 years. For 2 years, not for one.
Yeah.
2 years. 2 years, yes.
It'll be $22 million.
Right.
Like,
Here's 2 years, 22. Stay healthy. We'll give you more.
But yeah, that's a problem.
Real quick, I'll throw this in. I really think that you can find guys in the middle rounds to come in, play interior linemen. You can find a guard or a center, move Pittman out to either one. Whoever you have ranked higher, come round 3. I look at this offense now, and I see Lazard doesn't get separation. Corey Davis spontaneously retired. You got to get somebody else in the NFL. You look at all of the top teams right now. You look at Philly, Smith and Brown. You look at Miami's offense with Hill and Waddle. You look at the top teams. You look at Cincinnati. If they had Burrow, they got multiple. They got 3 deep. Give me Keon Coleman. Give me 6'4" Keon Coleman from Florida State and put him next to Garrett Wilson. And now you got 2 guys who complement one another and can both beat man coverage. And I just get me weapons. Get me guys who can beat man coverage, can get open, and then can do something with the ball in their hands after the fact. So that's where I'm at.
I totally agree with you, Nick.
I want to, and I know you love it because you're a Florida State guy, and I know that's you're a big Florida State dude. But I'm tired of looking at guys who aren't getting separation, who aren't getting open, and you could say it's because of Zach and just the whole thing. But we need guys who can beat you from anywhere on the field, and with Rodgers can get to the house at a 4-yard slant, boom, go take it. And I want more of those guys. I'm tired of. We got one guy, and then the rest of them are Braxton Berrios types. Fuck that. Give me elite weapons and go. So when whoever comes in after Rodgers still has great weapons to work with.
Do you think they actually are able to pull off? I'm sorry. Go ahead, Tiga.
I'll say this, Nick, because I was with you until last Sunday. I was, if you saw in the group chat, I was quarterback or wide receiver round 1. That's what I wanted. Quarterback, wide receiver round 1. And if we trade back, if we're in that top 15 picks, I would like to trade back. And if we do trade back, I want a quarterback at the end of round 1, right? Like that's where I would go, especially with how good this draft class is. That's the way that I would go. But the thing that really changed my mind was when Becton got hurt. I needed to see a full season of him being healthy for me to feel comfortable bringing him back on like a 1-year prove it deal to just get him here with Rodgers. But the other thing is, this upcoming wide receiver class in free agency and this upcoming guard class with free agency, if you did decide you wanted to go both routes in free agency, I would do like you said, go in the middle rounds and find a guard. I think this wide receiver class is actually really good because I don't see how Cincinnati is going to keep both T. Higgins and Tyler Boyd. They're both free agents.
Right.
Yeah, but I don't want to.
I don't know if
Indy giving out another $25 million a year deal.
And they're going to explore Devontae. They're going to look at it.
Devontae can't go anywhere because of his contract. But what I'm saying is,
I know, but they're going to explore it. That's all.
But yes, you're not going to have to eat that $25 million this year, Nick. You can structure a 3-year deal over 5 years and have a $10 million contract hit this year, and then the cap is going to explode in 2 years, and now the deal doesn't look that bad. But now you're looking at, like, you can look at T. Higgins or Tyler Boyd. You can look at Mike Evans, Michael Pittman Jr., Calvin Ridley, Darnell Mooney, Gabe Davis. Michael Thomas is going to hit free agency. Now, I wouldn't touch Michael Thomas with the 10.5-foot pole, but you get the point. I think it is, especially with free agency happening first, I think if you're the Jets and you've got money to spend, I don't know how comfortable I feel with Rodgers and a rookie wide receiver that he's going to have to not only learn the NFL game, but also going to have to learn Aaron Rodgers. Nah, screw that. Let's get a professional. Let's get a guy who's done it. And we're not looking for a wide receiver 1. We're looking for a wide receiver 2. So that would be what I would do, because at this point in time, I can't keep ignoring the offensive line and just how bad it's been. I was willing to just be like, oh, injuries, but Dom finally broke me. And I was just like, Becton is an injury concern. AVT is an injury concern. And that's the only we only have one tackle on the roster next year, and that's AVT. Like starting caliber tackle on the roster next year, and that's AVT. Like I love Max. I love Max, but like in an ideal world, like Max shouldn't start in a perfect world. You know, like I would love if Max could win the guard job. Like that'd be great for me because I love Max and he was a guy that I was big on. His development just hasn't been going on the trajectory that I expected his development to go. He's not bad, but he's not good like either. And with Rodgers, I just want to be good. So put Talisi Fuaga at the right tackle, put AVT at the left tackle, and then you go AVT, Tomlinson, Tittman, Greg Van is it not? It's not Greg, but Van Pratt on the right guard, and then Talisi Fuaga, and there's your offensive line, and then you're done. And now, and then you've got Garrett Wilson and Calvin Ridley as your wide receivers.
We used 12 offensive linemen last year. We used 13 already this year. So it's absolutely insane what's been going on. Johnny, we all need more Kuntz in our lives. Absolutely, no question about it.
All right. Now I'm tapping out.
Kuntz, you know what's getting highlighted.
Everyone take care. Happy Thanksgiving, boys. I'll talk to you guys in the chat. Adam, thank you for having me.
Yeah, I'm gonna cut too. It's getting late. I got to still edit a video before I go to bed.
All right, Dom, one thing before you go. Nice life preserver, McFly. All right, now I'm out.
I don't even know what that means.
You never saw Back to the Future?
Of course I've seen Back to the Future.
With Marty McFly, where's the vest? Nice life preserver, McFly. Best I got, Dom. I'm freaking tired.
Yeah. Hey, guys, thank you. It's been a pleasure. Chat, you guys are the best. Rusty, I can't wait to talk prospects with you, my man. Come check it out.
Rusty has his bold takes too. Oh, my gosh.
Yeah.
Wow. So. And there goes Nick. All right. Great to see him. Dom, great to see you as well, for sure.
Likewise,
Thanks for stopping by.
Have a good night, Dom.
All right.
You too.
I had to address Rusty's comment here. The good quarterbacks aren't in the first, they're in the fourth. Now, Rusty, when you say this, are you talking about – I don't think he means currently in the NFL because that would just be crazy. You know, but I guess
Rusty is correct in that this draft class is going to be insanely valuable in terms of quarterbacks that are going to be taken late.
Okay.
Like this is the year that you take a quarterback. While I disagree that the good quarterbacks aren't in the first, that they're in the fourth, I think if you have an opportunity to take one of these first round quarterbacks that isn't named Bo Nix or Michael Penix Jr., like you do it. And I think that you would prioritize that personally. Like if you can get JJ McCarthy at the bottom of the first, which is I think where he can go, that's a great pick. If you can get Carson Beck at the bottom of the first, that's the way that you should go. But if you can't, and you're waiting until the second or the third round, and you walk away with like a Riley Leonard or a Michael Pratt or a Jordan Travis, who might go undrafted now because he got hurt, a Sam Hartman, a Tyler Van Dyke, Rusty brought up a name, the kid out of Kansas. What's his name? Jalen Daniels. Like these are all really, really good quarterbacks that you can take in the first, not the first, that you can take throughout the draft. The one thing that I would say, and the one reason why, like, I have Nix as QB3, but I wouldn't take him, is because he's going to be 25 at the time of the draft.
Yeah. So Jetsmith says, Jetsmith says, Tigo, what quarterback can we get that low, like in the middle rounds? So, because I personally, I'll just say this: I like the idea of taking a quarterback a little bit later on, developmental. I don't like the idea of necessarily taking one in the first round. Maybe it's because I've got so much scar tissue from all the failures that we've seen. I'm fine with developing one, but I want to develop a project. So who should we be looking at?
I would, like, again, if you're looking in the middle rounds, the guy that I want more than anything in the world is if we can trade out of our first and get a second round pick, and then you can take Michael Pratt out of Tulane. I think that kid's dynamic. I love that kid. I doubt that he declares, but I really, really like Quinn Ewers out of Texas. I think he goes back to school. I think that's another really, really good pick. Another one is Carson Beck. Again, I don't think he declares. I think he goes back to Georgia. but he would be a guy that might be a bottom of the first, like, or a second or a third round pick quarterback that you could take. And those would be the guys that I would be looking at quarterback. I stand by my statement of, like, I think now that, like, I have a little bit more time, I think the big picture here is we have to take a quarterback this draft. We have to. Zach's done in New York. This is his last year.
Yep.
He's done in New York, and you have to have a plan post Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers isn't delusional enough to believe that he's going to be playing beyond the next 2 years. And if you include him in the process and have the conversation so that he doesn't find out day one, like on draft day, that his replacement is getting drafted when he doesn't think he's ready to retire, that's a different conversation entirely. And I think a kid like a JJ McCarthy, I have him graded as a bottom of the first guy.
Right.
If you can get, he'll barely be 21 at the time of the draft. If you can get that guy to sit behind Aaron Rodgers and to learn for 2 years, and now you look at it, and Rusty said something that I think is incredibly smart and true here, is the fact that, dude, this draft class is one of the best draft classes that I've seen in years. So if you can trade out of the first, you can go get Troy Fatanu, Jordan Morgan, Patrick Paul, Tyler Gaitan, Kingsley Suamatia, Matt Goncalves. These are all tackles that are going to go in the second and in the third and in the fourth round that I think that can legitimately play. And if you go into the year with some sort of semblance of Max Mitchell, Carter Warren, a new draft pick, and Elijah Vera Tucker, you can find an offensive line combination at tackles that's going to work. Hell, you can even bring back Mekhi Becton if you want to do a one-year deal. I think that's done. But I think that is how you go about it. And then continuing that thought process, like, I love some of these first-round wide receivers, but, like, dude, A.D. Mitchell might go in the second round. Xavier Leggett is going to go in the second round. Xavier Worthy is going to go in the second round. Jalen Polk, Johnny Wilson, Antoine Wells Jr., Malachi Corley, Troy Franklin, Brian Thomas Jr., Brendan Rice. This is
There
the
will be a
draft
quiz,
class.
everybody.
But, like, this is the draft class to get a wide receiver in the second or the third round. Like, it's this class. So the New York Jets are in the perfect position to take a quarterback in the first round because the positions that we need are all the deepest positions in this draft class.
So we're rooting for. Okay, so with that in mind, now I don't know exactly what your take is. Let's not look too much into the future. Let's kind of connect it to the present. We're almost to the point where we start having the debates: tank or not to tank. At this point, are you getting to the point where you'd be rooting for a tank to get a better draft position? Okay, just want to ask.
No.
Okay,
No, I'm never in a tank mode ever.
not a tanker.
Like, I just don't believe in it.
For a quarterback,
That's why-
I think that's the one exception. Then I can
If
understand.
it was for me, like, if it was up to me, I think you get rid of the draft. I think you have to. If you want a legitimate sports league to be dynamic, like, I think the draft needs to be done. I think you got to go to a fully college free agent model, and you just give salary caps, and everyone's bidding for the same guys, because, like, it kind of is unfair that Zach Wilson had to come to the New York Jets. Because if Zach Wilson had his choice, and if with everything, do you not think he would have gone to San Francisco? Everybody would have gone to San Francisco. No, but, like, they came up for Zach Wilson. Do you really think that Trevor Lawrence would have gone to? No, they came up for Zach, and they hoped that we would take Fields. That's been confirmed. That came out.
But they traded up to the 3 to take Lance,
yes.
right? Okay.
No, they traded up to the 3 to take Zach. They hoped that the New York,
because they made the trade previously, hoping we would take Fields instead of Zach. I see.
Exactly.
That's right.
They came up thinking that, like, they're going to take Justin Fields, hopefully, and then we can take Zach Wilson because that's who they wanted. And the backup plan was Mac Jones, not Trey Lance. And when that got leaked, all of the backlash that came from that pushed the general manager into Trey Lance. And that's a whole different story. Like, and we're not here to talk about the problems with the draft and blah, blah, blah. But I just don't believe in tanking. And I honestly think that the Jets are better served not tanking.
Yeah, Johnny, quick. Thanks so much for stopping by. Sorry I couldn't get to your Thanksgiving Staples question. It's been a little bit crazy tonight, but thanks so much. Hope to see you soon, brother. Hope to see you soon. Oh gosh, let's take another quick. He did ask one question that I want to just. What is your take on CJ Stroud? Tico, I'm going to let you take this one first. I'm curious to get your perspective on CJ. Oh, where he is
Dude,
now.
I had him as QB1,
Same.
and I thought
Easy to
I
say.
had him as QB1 by a long mile. And I didn't even have Bryce Young as QB2. You guys can all see that. Like, I have videos talking about
Yep.
that. And when we did our draft stuff, like, I talked about that. I did not expect CJ Stroud to be this good this quickly. And I knew that he was going to be a really good NFL quarterback. I didn't know it was going to be this good this quickly.
Yeah, who could have figured that would happen? I'll tell you what, I did think Houston would have a better season. I thought Houston would be in the wild card hunt. I figured they'd get 6 to 7 wins, maybe fade off a little bit. But I really like the hire of D'Amico Ryans, and it shows you when
Dude,
you
they had
have
a
that
great
kind of a
offseason.
coach. Well, yeah, yeah, they signed some really really good players, but clearly the additions of George Fant and Sheldon Rankins made the team. We all know that deep down. But the crazy thing with Houston is they've won 2 games where they turn the ball over 3 times. Even when they play bad, they find ways to win. Now, part of that is they have not played the hardest schedule in the league for sure. But you know what? They got some good mojo, and you know what? You just find ways to win. There ain't no style points in this league. And what's so impressive to me is his touchdown to interception ratio. It is remarkable. CJ Stroud makes really smart decisions with the ball, and he's making his receivers better. Collins, Dell, we all love Tank Dell. We were talking about Tank Dell incessantly in that draft process, as I remember. But then you had Dalton Schultz at tight end, and you have a pretty good offensive line. And pardon me, who's the remind me who's the offensive coordinator in Houston? Do you remember? I can't remember his name offhand.
Bobby Slowiak,
Nobody I
something
know.
like that.
Okay.
No.
So
He was the San Francisco
wow.
QB.
Okay.
Again,
Okay.
D'Amico just brought San Francisco with him to Houston. Like, D'Amico did exactly what Robert Saleh did when they came. Like, literally, the Houston Texans are the New York Jets West. Like, that's the way that you should look at it. They brought in the defensive coordinator to be their head coach. They had the number 2 overall pick, and they took a quarterback. And then they're investing heavily on the defensive side of the ball, and it's working for them. The reality is that CJ Stroud was a much better prospect, a much more developed prospect than Zach. Zach's ceiling was and still is insane. Is he ever going to hit that ceiling? Probably not. But like, that's what it is. And so he comes in and he's asked to run a West Coast scheme, which is kind of what he wasn't really running it, but he was kind of running something like that at Ohio State. And he's able to get his guys running free and Slowiak. Like, the one complaint that we had about Mike LaFleur was what? It wasn't that people weren't running free. It was that he was unable to adapt. Well, you're seeing the same thing from Slowiak. His adaptability in certain aspects of the game isn't all that great. He's trying to fit a round peg in a square hole, but the wide receivers are running wide open, and CJ can see the field. There's the difference.
Let's do. I'm going to answer this one question. Then I think we're going to just kind of lighten it up for the last 15 minutes. I think we'll take it to about midnight or so. I think that'd be pretty good. Rusty asks, what's his contract? So here is cap hits for his first 4 years. First round, 6.5 million, 8.2 million, 9.8 million, and 11.5 million. And then they have the 5th-year option. We'll see what that is. So, and I'm sure he'll be signed to a very long extension before that happens.
He's asking about Zach.
Going to count as 11.2 against the cap next year, no matter how the Jets get rid of him, whether it's a release or a trade. Yeah, we got the Zach question too. So
I think, actually, now that I look about it, you might be able to get that trade, Rusty, because theoretically it would be a $1 million cap hit for whatever team that traded for Zach, because they would just have to pay the base salary. So I guess you could try and trade Zach to some team and he'd be a $1 million cap hit, and we're going to eat $11 million no matter what next year. So I guess you can maybe try to find a trade partner for Zach, but I just don't see a team that would do it. Like
It'd be
you could maybe
fascinating to see
convince
who he
San
takes.
Francisco. Like you could
Yeah.
maybe convince San Francisco to be like, you know what? We'll take Zach. We wanted him in the draft. Maybe I can fix him. But like at this point, why would they? They have Brock
Well,
Purdy. They like Purdy, and you know, so it's one of those things. I don't see a team trading for Zach.
Yeah, now you're bringing in Zach to San Francisco so Brock Purdy can mentor. You've gone from the mentorship of Aaron Rodgers to the mentorship of Brock Purdy. My, how times change. It is. I don't think Zach is going to get traded. I think somebody's just going to try to sign him, give him a year, as little money as possible, and see what happens. And who knows? It could be. Hey, may as well be the Patriots. Why not? Would it really shock? Just for if Bill is still there to twist the knife in a little bit, just to see what would happen. Because to be honest, the one thing that I don't feel bad about, that makes me feel a little bit better about it, is the rest of the quarterbacks in that draft are disasters. I'm sorry. Yeah,
There was no right pick. Yeah.
No, Fields, Lance Jones. You want to go deeper? Davis Mills, Kyle Trask, please. I mean, could have drafted Micah Parsons, but I think he works best in that 3-4 defense in Dallas. That'd have been great. But let
me ask you this, Rusty. Why would Arizona take him? What does Arizona benefit from taking Zach?
Are they going to draft a quarterback this year anyway? I mean, I don't know how long.
Kyler, theoretically, like they have the Kyler contract, and that is a problem. But like, if you're Arizona, why would you trade anything for Zach? Kyler comes back, and he balls out. Now you're talking about selling that number 2, number 1 overall pick for a boatload of picks, or you're talking about drafting Marvin Harrison Jr.
Can you imagine? It would be funny if Joe could get like a 6th-round pick for Blake Cashman, but couldn't find a trade partner for Zach Wilson.
Well, Blake Cashman, the problem with Blake Cashman was never his ability; it was his injury.
It was his injuries, right? It's a different
Blake
situation.
Cashman, every time he hit the field, was electric. It was electric. Just couldn't stay healthy.
He became. He didn't do how many. I'm trying to think of how many all the Jets highlights. Put it this way, I'm trying to think of all the Jets highlights and that whole package. This career Jets highlight package, and I pretty much have. I just couldn't. I couldn't be able to find anything. I'm sorry to say. All right, let's kind of lighten it up a little bit. Thanksgiving's coming up in a couple days. Let's just talk some Thanksgiving. Let's just have a little fun right now. So Johnny Jimenez's his staples for Thanksgiving have to be green bean casserole and fried turkey. Now, Johnny, I got to say something in response to this. I am convinced if it wasn't for crispy onions, nobody in the world would know what a green bean casserole is. Because if you're getting the casserole and you're not going for the onions first, I don't get it. I don't get. And I gotta say, with the fried turkey, I've never really had good fried turkey in my life. I mean, in the North, it just wasn't something that we saw. Now, I will say this: a couple years ago, I was working at a Brazilian steakhouse as a side hustle, and I worked Thanksgiving, and I could barely walk by the end of the night. It was so crazy. But they had 3 different types of turkey: baked smoky, whatever the hell that is, baked turkey, smoked turkey, and fried turkey. The problem was with the fried turkey, there was no skin. So how do you even know if it's a fried turkey if you're not getting the crispy skin? So, yes, I'm not sure. So I'm not sure about that. But green bean, what are your thoughts on green bean casserole and fried turkey, Tigo? And do you have any particular staples that you got to have? And Nick, as soon as Tigo answers, I'll find one other trivia question real quick. Yeah, Tigo, go ahead.
You're asking the wrong guy.
Okay.
I don't do Thanksgiving like normal people do Thanksgiving, and like
no problem.
I am Brazilian, so like we do like steaks and a barbecue, and we just kind of hang out as a family on Thanksgiving. So it's like I have never had a deep fried turkey or a green bean casserole, and I honestly kind of don't really have any interest in doing that. Like I've had turkey before, but that's more just because hey, you want to go shoot some turkeys later today? And like we shoot a turkey, and then you just like, you butcher it and you get some turkey legs for lunch. Like, so again, I'd be like,
you get
we do Brazilian dinners. Yeah.
No picanha. Love it. Love it.
But that's what I'm saying. Like, that's what we do on Thanksgiving.
Yeah, we got a place called the Butcher's Market down in the Raleigh area. When I go visit my mother, we pretty much get some from Butcher's Market. And one time we had picanha. So amazing. Amazing. Real quick, Vervain showing up. Steaks sound a lot better than most of what is served on Thanksgiving. I'm of the belief 95% of the people who say they don't like turkey just haven't had a good one because it's overcooked. It's not about how long you cook it, it's about how you prepare it. And that's what it's all about. I currently have a turkey breast, a 7-pound bone-in turkey breast, because it's just going to be like two of us. Dry brining in the fridge right now with some kosher salt, black pepper, some brown sugar for the sweetness. Then I'm going to make a compound butter with some garlic, lemon zest, a couple different types of fresh herbs. Going to put that under the breast. So while the turkey is cooking for like 2 hours, that butter's melting, just keep getting that turkey breast meat all moist and juicy, and going to be amazing. Can't wait. Tigo's not impressed, but it's cool. Yeah, I'm looking forward to trying it because I didn't even make turkey for myself until just like a year or two ago. But I'm excited to give it a try. All right. Nick did ask for one more question. I'm trying to. I know I have one more.
I got one.
Okay, I did find one. All right, I'll give you one. Then we'll then go ahead and do. Then we'll let you go ahead and do yours. Okay.
So,
name the. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I thought I misheard you. Go.
Patience. No, it's all good. All right. Name the only two AFC franchises the Jets have a career winning record against. Now, I know you could just run through all the different teams, but think about who those two franchises are and let me know what you all think. It's the only two AFC franchises the Jets have a career winning record against.
Interesting.
It's sad that it's only two. Okay, here it is. All right, Nick says it's the Bengals and the Chargers. Okay. Looking to see what else the chat has to say. I'm going to wait for a few people to respond in the chat. Tigo, I'll let you think it over, and then I'll let everybody know.
Is it all games or just like regular season games or?
It wouldn't make regular season versus playoffs. It wouldn't make a difference in the spot.
Okay.
So
winning record against.
Yep. So Nick says Bengals Chargers. Let's see what some of our other guests tonight have to say. All right, Rusty Spooner says Raiders Rams. Rusty, AFC. So AFC.
Bengals has to be. I think Bengals is for sure one of them. And I feel like this is such a cheap answer. But like Houston hasn't been around that long. Like how many times have we played Houston?
Yeah.
Like what is it, like 5-6 times in franchise history?
1 second. Nolte says New England. That deserves a buzzer. Just like the Rams answer did. Yeah, Houston's an AFC team. Yeah, we played them 9 times at this point.
Oh, it's only 9? See,
only
that's
9
more
times,
than I guessed.
Yeah. So, didn't say what the record was, but we played them 9 times.
I put my guess in the chat so that you can see it there.
Okay.
Rams were AFC loophole.
Yeah, like the car. Yeah, so were the Steelers and the Browns and okay. Vervain says Titans and Browns. Okay. So, Vervain, I'm going to let you know this one against the Jets, against the Browns. The Jets are 14-15, 1 game under 500. Not a bad guess, but 1 game under 500. I'll give you the two. All right, I'll give you the. So Cleveland's one team, they're just under 500. There's 2 other that are very close. Against Miami, they are.
Wait.
Well, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
14-15 against
14 and 15 against Cleveland. 29 games. Remember, Cleveland was in the NFL until they moved over. Yeah, we played 29 regular season games against them, and what would that be?
I thought we were 500. I thought I saw that stat. I thought we were 14-14 or 15-15.
14-15, yeah. And then when you throw in the playoff game, then of course it's definitely under 500. But Miami, we are 56-58-1 currently. So that one's pretty close. And Kansas City, we are, I'm not sure if this includes this year, but it wouldn't matter. 19-20-1. We had 1 tie against Kansas City, not counting the playoff victory. But the correct answer, Tigo, you got it. Against Houston, we are 6-3. Against Cincinnati, we are 18-11. So we have done a pretty good job against the Bengals, even though they've owned us the last couple of times that they played us, I believe. So
no, we beat them with Mike White. Do you not remember the Hall of Fame game?
We did. Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. We remember. Yeah, it seems like
They
I
beat us
think
last
recently
year.
with the Bengals, when they beat us, they kill us. When we beat them, though, it's like because there was the Mike White game. That was like the one exception. But yeah, since he's been blowing us out a little bit in more recent years. All right, what was
I guess
yours?
Texans based purely on the fact that like I thought we only played them
Yeah.
6 times, so like we could be like, but 3-2 against them
times,
and be
yeah.
like, hey, technically, okay.
It's true.
So this is a good one. It's not Jets
Okay.
related, but it is football related, and I think Nick will enjoy this one specifically if he's still around. I picked this question for Nick. So Florida State currently holds the record for the youngest player to ever win the Heisman Trophy ever. They also hold the record for the oldest player to win the Heisman Trophy record. Name both quarterbacks, oldest and youngest. Go.
Florida State. Florida State? Okay. I was thinking that Craig canceled, but he was Ohio State, I think. See, I am not a college football guy. I readily admit it. It is not my wheelhouse. So
Both guys ended up in the NFL.
Charlie Ward?
Nope.
No, he ended up in the NFL, so it wouldn't be Charlie Ward.
And I'm only going to answer yes if you get both of them right. I'm not going to give you one or the other.
Charlie Ward. Had to do that. Oh, MSG style, brother. Oh, Winky. Yeah, I think. Okay, so I think he's got that one right. Yep, Winky. That was the name. Yep, Chris Winky. I'm positive that's correct. So that would be the oldest, I think. The youngest, Florida State. I'm trying to think back to the days when like Ron Simmons was playing over there, or in Primetime was playing there for the little bit that I know. Rusty Spooner. Let's go ages. Vervain, Winky oldest, Winston youngest. Is Vervain correct?
That is correct. That is correct. Winston was Jameis Winston was the youngest player to ever win the Heisman Trophy, and then Winky was the oldest. Can anyone that's not named Nick name how old Winky was when he won it?
I want to say he was like 20. He was mid-20. I would say like 26. He was up there.
Nope.
He was up there for sure. All right.
Let's give it a couple seconds because this is a stat that I didn't know existed, and then I had to look him up. Again, we were talking about Winky earlier. It is not 25. It is not 26. Winston was 19. He did it his freshman year.
I remember there was like this whole controversy about, was he too old to win the Heisman Trophy? I remember that from back in the day for sure. Nick also asking, can anybody name what team drafted Winky? I'm going to say it's a trick question and say nobody.
Nope, he got drafted.
Okay, I figured that was the best answer possible. I know it wasn't us, although it makes sense that we would have. What? I don't remember him. All right. So how old was Winky and what team drafted him? So these are like the follow-up questions. I wish I could play the Jeopardy music in the background, but I think there might be issues with copyrights.
Yeah, no, don't do that. That's a problem.
Can't do that now. Yeah, some of the old videos I used to do, I would play when I was doing the game previews before I was doing all of this. I would do the NFL music on CBS and Fox, and then when I started putting it on YouTube, all of a sudden I was getting flagged. I'm like, oh, I think I need to stop.
Yep.
Before we knew all the rules. Yep.
It was so to give the answer on his age, because I think it's more fun to try to guess what team drafted him. He was 28 when he won.
He was 28? Okay. Was it a local team? Was it a Florida team?
No. Well,
Okay.
I only know this because I was talking to Nick about Stetson Bennett being wildly average. And then we started talking about like older prospects getting the benefit of the doubt. And then he brought up Winky because I thought Bennett was the oldest prospect drafted because I thought he was 26 when he got drafted. And he was like, no, you have to look up this Winky guy because he was 28 when he got drafted. And then I did a deep dive on Winky.
Yeah, I remember that guy now. Yeah.
And I was like, what the crap? And so, yeah, he was 28 when he got drafted. And the only reason, again, I don't
What round was he
care about
drafted
him as a player.
What round?
Fourth round.
Fourth round? Oh, not horrible.
Fourth round. Top of the fourth round, if we're being specific. So
I'm
what
waiting for
team
the
was
chat to
really
actually
bad in
take
like
care of this for me.
2001, 2002?
Say again, 2002. What was that?
So
He was
like what
drafted in
teams were bad in the early 2000s?
Cleveland
I
was.
think that's it's an NFC team.
NFC team. 02. Lions?
No. Currently, he works as the Tennessee Volunteers running backs coach. I have his Wikipedia page open. Vervain got it.
Vervain Panthers?
Panthers took him.
Yeah,
Took him in the
that
fourth
sounds.
round.
Yeah, see, every time it's like, yes, that makes sense because I do remember him. I swear I had a Madden game with, with him in it. That all of a sudden it's like, yes, the Panthers, right? Okay,
Yep.
all right, yeah, they weren't too. I guess they weren't too hot at that time. But was that?
Nope.
Was Stallone even there at the time? Who knows? Who knows?
Oh, wait, never
Yeah.
mind. He's at
Oh.
Georgia Tech as their QB coach.
Well, who's the running backs coach at Tennessee now? Now you got me all curious here. Tigo, come on. now.
I don't care about running backs coaches from Tennessee. Final brownie point. What was the only other team in the NFL that Wanky played for that wasn't the Carolina Panthers? We talked about them this show.
Oh, Jerry Mack is the running backs coach at Tennessee, just for anybody who cares. It would be funny if it was the Browns, but I don't think it was.
Nope.
I'm just
Again,
randomly
also an
throwing
NFC
teams.
team.
Can't imagine it's in East Washington.
No.
Rusty says San Fran.
Yep.
Okay. Difference is I'm not looking this up, guys. Good job.
And technically Chris Wanky is the oldest player ever drafted at 28 years, 264 days old.
And any possible chance that that record's going to get broken this year?
No, I don't think there's a single 20.
I
I
don't
don't
think
think you
it'll
can play
happen
till you're
again,
28 anymore.
Oh gosh.
And
All
what
right.
you're thinking about, Savage or Rusty is, I think you're thinking about Brandon Whedon. They took a 28-year-old quarterback in the first round
Yes.
in 2012. So, yeah.
All right. All right. Well, gentlemen, to Tigo, I want to thank you for coming on, for doing the show with me as kind of a last minute idea to have some other folks on. I got to say, it was a lot of fun. Thanks for bringing your insight, your knowledge, and your opinions, man. Definitely appreciate it. Dom, Nick, I thank you guys too. I want to thank everybody who joined us in the chat, everybody from Florida to New Jersey to Arkansas and wherever else you might have been joining us from around. Braden. So I guess we'll throw in New Zealand too. But it's friggin' fantastic to see you guys joining. We're absolutely having a great time doing this stuff. I want to wish everybody a very happy Thanksgiving. Don't let the Jets ruin your Black Friday. And of course, we'll see you right back here with more content from you know where. The Wicker Chair. Have a great night, everybody.